What's going on YouTube? It's Chris here from Friendly Frenzy Games, and today I'm going to walk you through some tips to help you clear all 10 tiers of the Survivalist set of challenges in Red Dead Redemption 2. The Survivalist challenges in RDR 2 are essentially a set of free world objectives that you can complete in between missions, or once you've completed the main storyline. Now there's 9 sets of these challenges, each with 10 specific tiers for a total of 90 challenges. Completing them all is one of the requirements on the 100% completion checklist if you're hunting the Best in the West trophy and achievement for completing Red Dead Redemption 2. Now each tier gets progressively more difficult, but you'll snag some cool rewards and experience along the way. Now specifically, you'll unlock the Survivalist Bandolier, Gun Belt, Holster, and Offhand Holster at the Trapper, which will allow you to carry more ammunition for all weapons, as well as reduce the amount of maintenance that your weapons require to stay in their best condition. Not only that, but by purchasing the entire set, you'll permanently increase your Deadeye ability bar by 1 tank. So let's go over what you'll need to do to complete each tier of the Survivalist challenges in Red Dead Redemption 2. Survivalist Tier 1 unlocks when you catch your first bluegill fish, which is likely while fishing with Jack in Chapter 2 during the Fisher of Men quest. If it doesn't unlock here, it's because you caught a bass instead of a bluegill fish on the mission. Luckily though, bluegills are common in essentially any body of water, so equip your fishing rod and use cheese bait as bluegills are highly attracted to this type of bait. You'll complete Survivalist 1 as soon as you catch your third bluegill fish. Survivalist Tier 2 requires you to hand 5 animals into camp or to the Trapper. Now depending on when you're choosing to complete this challenge, if you're early on in the game, handing carcasses to the camp cook Mr. Pearson is likely your quickest option. However, because I chose to do these challenges at the end of the game, the Trapper was my best option. Now you can find traveling trappers across your map in more remote locations, like this one, southwest of Annisburg. But you can also find trapper shops in the major city of Saint Denis. Just keep an eye on your map for a paw icon with a $sign in the middle of it, which will mark the trapper's location. Now to complete this easily, you can quickly fish 5 small fish and store them in your satchel for easy delivery. Similarly though, you can catch some small game like squirrels and rats to store in your satchel as well. While you're hunting, you can also use the 2 side inventory slots on your horse to store things like rabbits and birds, as well as the one on the rear for larger animals like deer. Now this will obviously load up your horse with 3 animals, making it very easy to turn all 5 animals in at once to complete Survivalist 2. Survivalist Tier 3 says that you'll need to kill 5 animals using a varmint rifle. Now this means if you don't have one already that you will need to visit a gunsmith located in most major cities and purchase a varmint rifle for $72. Now the varmint rifle doesn't really do much damage, and although you can slightly up its stopping power by customizing it, it really doesn't seem to make too much of a difference. This weapon and its ammunition are specifically designed to take down small game with ease, but even then, you'll likely want to be getting headshots on things like rabbits, birds, and squirrels, just so that you don't need to chase your targets across the map. After you've killed your 5th animal with the varmint rifle, you'll complete Survivalist 3. Survivalist Tier 4 wants you to craft some new ammunition, but specifically arrows. Now it should be said that you can find each of these recipe pamphlets in lockboxes at specific locations across the map, but to save time, I personally found it much faster to purchase these from a fence. However, this is obviously too going to require a hefty investment up front, so definitely keep that in mind. If you choose to go the fence route like I did, travel to your nearest fence icon, which is the small store sign with an X in the middle of it, and speak to the vendor to purchase your pamphlets. After you've purchased or collected the pamphlets, you're also going to need to learn them by accessing your satchel and reading each of these 5 pamphlets. You'll now be able to craft these arrows at campfires so long as you have their required ingredients. Now many of the ingredients aren't available for purchase, so things like flight feathers and animal fat can only be obtained by hunting the appropriate animals like birds and boars. The poison arrow specifically also requires a more uncommon herb called oleander sage, which I found a nice little spot to harvest many of these just outside of Saint Denis. Here's a quick run through of the 5 arrow recipes. The dynamite arrow requires 1 arrow, 1 dynamite, and 1 flight feather. The fire arrow requires 1 arrow, 1 animal fat, and 1 flight feather. The improved arrow requires 1 arrow and 1 flight feather. The poison arrow requires 1 arrow, 1 oleander sage, and 1 flight feather. And lastly, the small game arrow requires 1 arrow, 1 flight feather, and 1 shotgun shell. Now, after you've created at least one of each of these types of arrows, you'll complete Survivalist 4. Survivalist 5 will have you doing some fishing. Now, this is specific to the bayou region of the map. The first objective is to catch a fish while boating in the bayou. Since you need to catch a fish while boating, search the docks for a large rowboat. Now, as a note here, don't use a canoe since you can't actually cast your fishing line from it. I personally had success finding one of the rowboats that we need at the docks just slightly north of the bait shop in La Grasse. Now, all you need to do is paddle towards some disruptions in the water and cast your line using a swamp lure to attract the attention of some fish. After you reel in a fish, you'll have completed the first part of Survivalist 5. Now, the second part of Survivalist 5 doesn't specifically say that the railroad tracks need to be in the bayou region, but I happened to stumble upon a set just west-southwest of La Grasse at the top of this small lake at Bayal Edge. For this, once you've reached this location, make sure that you're standing on the railroad tracks before, again, equipping a swamp lure and casting towards the disruptions in the water. After you catch your fish here, you'll clear the second part of Survivalist 5 to move on to Survivalist 6. For Survivalist 6, you're going to need to kill an animal that's scavenging a corpse 5 times. The way that I found this quickest and easiest to complete was by using predator bait to attract the attention of carnivorous animals, then shooting them as they snack on the bait. Now, I personally really liked this location just south of Strawberry because it was home to many foxes, which are very easy to kill and love the predator bait. Not only that, but you can purchase predator bait very close by at the general store in town, as opposed to having to have the ingredients, which are 1 stringy meat and 1 raspberry, on hand to craft them at a campfire. Once you're in this area and you're fully stocked on predator bait, simply place the bait in a somewhat discreet location and then get to a good vantage point. You'll notice the foxes and other animals start to swarm the predator bait that you dropped, but be sure that you wait to start shooting until they've actually started eating the bait. After you kill 5 animals this way, you'll clear Survivalist 6. Survivalist 7 says that you need to kill 8 small animals with consecutive shots using small game arrows. Essentially what this means is that you're going to need to kill everything that you shoot in 1 hit and without missing a single shot. You're also only able to kill small game for this challenge, so once you start hunting them, be very careful that you don't start shooting larger animals or using different weapons and ammunition, because this will reset your streak. I personally found this easiest by crafting as many small game arrows as possible, using 1 flight feather, 1 arrow, and 1 shotgun shell. I would definitely recommend to have at least 8 of these small game arrows, because for some reason it's really not that easy to collect the arrows that you fired, and you really don't want to reset a kill streak so that you can harvest animals for more ingredients. I found this challenge fairly easy to complete at the abandoned Appleseed Timber Company, which is a logging camp slightly northeast of Strawberry, outside of Monto's Rest and near the Dakota River. This is a great location because it's got a wide variety and a high population of small game animals. Also though, it's quite barren and cleared out, which makes it much easier to see the small game if they start to flee while you're hunting them. I also took some time to set this location up before actually starting my streak. To do that, I killed a few larger animals like coyotes and placed them in a few different locations within the camp. This allowed ravens to land and consume the corpses, which made the birds very easy targets. Periodically, there's also going to be multiple rats that flee from this empty cabin, and these are very easy targets to use to complete this challenge as well. As a note, there will sometimes be larger birds like turkeys that pass through this area. Do not use your arrows on these as they don't count as small game, and I believe there's badgers that pass through and don't count either. Really what you're looking for are ravens, black and brown rats, chipmunks, and rabbits. If you kill 8 small game in a row, using only 1 shot to kill each with a bow and small game arrow, without missing a single shot, you'll clear Survivalist 7. Survivalist 8, much like Survivalist 4, requires you to do some crafting, but this time, instead of new arrows, it's new weaponry. To clear this challenge, you'll need to craft a homing tomahawk, an improved tomahawk, a volatile dynamite, and a volatile fire bottle. Again, like Survivalist 4, you can find each of these recipe pamphlets in lockboxes across the world, but it's still much faster and easier if you can afford to purchase these recipes from the fence. Travel to the nearest fence vendor. Again, it's the icon with a small store sign and an X in the middle of it, and to purchase these pamphlets. Then access your satchel to read the pamphlets so that you can actually learn them and know what ingredients you'll need to have to craft them. To craft the homing tomahawk, you'll need 1 tomahawk and 1 owl feather. For the improved tomahawk, you'll need 1 tomahawk and 1 hawk feather. For the volatile dynamite, you'll need 1 dynamite, 1 animal fat, and 1 high velocity cartridge. And lastly, for the volatile fire bottle, you'll need 1 moonshine and 1 animal fat. After you've crafted at least one of each of these 4 new weapons, you'll clear Survivalist 8. Survivalist 9 brings you back to fishing, and it also says that you need to catch a fish that weighs at least 19 pounds. Now, since there's so many different species of fish in this game and the map is so large, you really can accomplish this however you would like. What I found, though, is typically the more northern bodies of water tend to have larger fish, at the cost of being typically a bit more out of the way. So depending on where you are in the map, try your luck at hunting the largest species of fish available in that area. For me, though, I sourced out the northern pike, which was also pretty beneficial as it put me in a great spot to set up for Survivalist 10 as well. What's also cool about this challenge is that if you haven't actually unlocked the It Was This Big achievement or trophy, you're automatically going to unlock it by clearing this challenge. Now, I found my 19-pound northern pike in Cattail Pond, which is just slightly west of Valentine. Once you're here, just equip a lake lure and keep pulling these northern pike out of the water until you hit the 19-pound requirement, and you'll clear Survivalist 9. Survivalist 10 keeps us fishing, much like Survivalist 9. It says, though, that you'll need to catch 1 of each type of fish throughout the world, and there are 15 species of fish, so you'll need to catch at least 15 fish. Now, personally, I hadn't started fishing for the legendary versions of these fish yet, so I thought it might actually be a good idea to start that quest as a way to work towards completing 2 things at once. Also to note here, though, if you're chasing the Best in the West trophy and achievement for 100% completion of Red Dead Redemption 2, you will need to have caught all 13 legendary fish anyways. So if you're in the same boat as me, you'll want to make sure that you visit Jeremy Gill to start the Fisher of Fish quest so that you can purchase and equip the special lures from the bait shop in Lagros that are required to catch the legendary fish variants. Now, I'm not going to go into any more detail regarding the legendary fish locations in this video. However, if it is something that you're interested in, definitely feel free to check out the legendary fish locations guide that I've attached to this video. However, I will pick up Survivalist 10 where that video leaves off, as it only gets us 13 out of the 15 fish that we need to catch. The 2 that you won't actually catch for Jeremy Gill are the northern pike and the channel catfish. Now, if you remember from Survivalist 9, I mentioned something about it setting me up well for Survivalist 10. That's because I was already at a location for the northern pike, which again, you can find in Cattail Pond, just west of Valentine, by simply equipping a lake lure and casting your line. After reeling in a northern pike, the last fish that you're going to need to track down that isn't legendary is the channel catfish, and you can find it off this small dock in the Kamasa River, just southwest of Lagros. Even though it's a river, you're going to want to use a swamp lure here since catfish are more attracted to these types of lures. Cast your line at the end of the dock towards the disruptions in the water, and then reel it in once you get a bite. Once you catch the channel catfish, assuming that you've caught the 13 legendary fish for the quest as well, you'll clear Survivalist 10 and unlock all of the sweet new cosmetic rewards that I highlighted at the beginning of this video. I hope that this video helped you tackle the Survivalist challenges for yourself in Red Dead Redemption 2. If it did, give it a like, let us know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to Friendly Frenzy Games on YouTube for many more helpful game guides.